Hey, SeaWolves fans, in preparation of our first Marvel's Defenders of the Diamond Night, I'm sitting down with Brian Crosby over at Marvel. Brian, thanks for joining me and chatting about our Defenders of the Diamond Night.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We're thrilled to have you. I'm a huge Marvel nerd, and I'm excited to chat with you about this stuff and kind of see how things have come to fruition with this theme night. That is your role over at Marvel as director of themed entertainment. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about what you do at Marvel before we dive into the project?
Yeah, sure. I oversee, as you mentioned, I oversee themed entertainment, which is kind of this weird division of Marvel where I'm not necessarily doing comic books or movies or video games, but I oversee all of our live events, our experiences, comic conventions, traveling shows, all kinds of things like that. And so part of that, part of those responsibilities incorporate what we do with all of our professional sports partners, such as yourselves. And so, we've been working on our Marvel superhero nights for a number of years. And so we've had a great partnership with minor league baseball. And for Marvel's Defenders of the Diamond, we wanted to try something that was a little bit different. It was a little outside of our wheelhouse, where we weren't necessarily bringing, Iron Man or Thor, Captain America into your stadium or your game, and really more, what would it look like if we took a stab with Marvel eyes and Marvel hands on your intellectual property and characters. So this was a fun new challenge and a new wrinkle in the Marvel minor league baseball partnership.
Well, the logos I think were great. There are 96 of them of the 120 minor league teams that have a
Right.
Marvelized character logo.
Yeah.
So from your guys' perspective over at Marvel, how did this project kind of start steamrolling into the thing we see it as today?
Yeah, like I said, this was very new for us to do something like this, and but I think we all got excited. One of the things that we love at Marvel is a great challenge, a storytelling challenge, coming up with new characters. We have roughly 8,000 plus characters in our library, and so over the decades we've gotten pretty good at creating iconic characters that are memorable and fun, and so what we wanted to do was approach this project as if we were creating completely new characters. And so what we did is we looked at each individual team. You mentioned there were 96 of them, and we talked about what are their core attributes, their colors, what makes their city special, what mascot do they have, things like that, and then looking at how we could take what you already have and put a little bit of a Marvel twist on it. And this came my way as again, as part of my responsibilities at Marvel. And so I started sketching up a few ideas that I had of what that might look like. We shared it back with minor league baseball. They got excited about the program, and we were off and running. And it was really just a few months for us to develop all 96 of those logos. So it was definitely a labor of love, but we were having fun. And as a longtime baseball fan, it was great for me to bring together Marvel and baseball together.
Yeah, I was going to ask because I know that Marvel and baseball is kind of a combination of two things that I really care a lot about. And I was
Yeah.
wondering what your connection was to baseball and any personal connections you have to this project personally.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of connections to baseball, actually. So I come from a baseball family. My father, Ed Crosby, played in Major League Baseball from 1971 to 78. He played for St. Louis, Cincinnati, and Cleveland, with a couple of stops in between for some spring training stints. And then my brother Bobby, he was the 2004 American League Rookie of the Year, with the Oakland A's, and he's now the manager of the Double-A Midland Rockhounds. And my brother Blake Crosby is a scout for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I'm the weird black sheep of the family that started reading comic books and started drawing, but I love the game and have grown up around it. And it was great to bring these two things that I love together.
That's awesome. To You got some connections regionally here to Erie as well. Obviously, dad having played in Cleveland, and your brother's connection as a scout with Pittsburgh. There's a lot of Cleveland and Pittsburgh area fans here in the flagship city. So, talking about our logo specifically with Erie, we've got the baseball bat cannon on the arm. I think that's one of my favorite aspects of the designs.
Yeah.
Can you kind of let us into the thought process behind maybe the Seawolf logo specific.
Yeah, sure. Well, I drew yours myself. So I oversaw and art directed all 96 of them. But there were probably about 20 to 25 that I drew myself. And as you can see, I love pirates. I love kind of that whole aesthetic. Big fan of Pirates of the Caribbean and things like that. And so thinking about what I might do with yours, you already have a very cool logo to begin with. So I didn't want to necessarily reinvent the wheel, but maybe just do something a little bit different that you hadn't seen. And so wanted to lean into the pirate aspect of it all. And I did a few different designs. One where I did a full body version of the Sea Wolf that was a little kind of little buffer, had a little more edge to it. And then I gave him a peg leg that was a bat. And that kind of got us all thinking internally. We're like, well, it's kind of a lot to fit an entire body onto a hat. But the peg leg as a bat we thought was cool. And I forget who it was on our team that said, what if it was his arm? And then well, sometimes you say you have a cannon for an arm, as the phrase goes. And we thought, let's turn his arm into a cannon. Wouldn't that be hilarious and kind of cool and something that we haven't seen before? So I have never seen a character with a literal cannon for an arm. And I thought there was a nice connection to baseball. And obviously, your iconography with the Seawolf. A was the sheer amount of time that we had to pull it all together. As you mentioned, we had 3 months to do it. We were off and running, trying to scramble, put these designs together, assembling a team to design these, to review them. Again, trying to learn a new process because we were now on the other side of the table with a new client. So we were sharing these designs back with you and minor league baseball. But I think something that was also very challenging for us was having to design, not necessarily for a comic book, because with comic books, it's the printed page and whatever you draw gets replicated exactly onto the printed page. But in the case of designing something that's going to live on a hat, it has to be stitched on. And so we had to think differently about how much little details we put in, and we had to think more boldly about the design, think about the silhouette. Was it recognizable right off the bat? And so those were new challenges for us on that end. And thankfully we had great partners at minor league baseball that helped us navigate through those challenges. But we had a lot of fun doing them. We had a blast. So while it was a challenge to do in a short amount of time, I really loved doing it. It was something totally different for us.
Do you have a favorite out of all 96?
Oh, it's got to be definitely the Erie Seawolves, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
that's what I thought. Yeah,
definitely.
It's a pretty good one. We're pretty fond of it too. So I'm sure that there are a lot of different aspects that go into designing something that's supposed to look and feel like it came from Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
What are some of those design elements that you really tried hard to incorporate?
Yeah, well, I think when people think of Marvel Comics or even just superheroes in general, people think of a lot of the tropes of superhero, the big graphics or a cape or a mask or whatever it is, kind of the stereotypical superhero stuff. But I think if you look back at Marvel's history and look at a lot of our characters, each one of them is really unique, has a very different design, and their costume design is a logical extension of either their power set or their personality. And so, as we were thinking about this, we really tried not to veer into territory where like this was an obvious iteration of Captain America or an obvious iteration of Thor or whatever, but that we approached it blank slate, just thinking about this new character, this new iconography, as if we were creating a completely new character. So that's where those attributes in the conversations we had with the individual teams were critical, because then we were understanding what was important to you and able to shape this new character and create something that would hopefully resonate with yourselves and resonate with your fans.
So that's all very good stuff. So let's pivot now from the designs themselves and the characters themselves to the theme nights that we have.
Yeah.
Ballpark. We've got ours coming up towards the end of August here at UPMC Park. I want to know what fans should expect if they come to a game where the Seawolves are going to be wearing their Defenders of the Diamonds uniforms, and we've got the ballpark ready to go for that.
Hopefully they're ready for a good time. I mean, you guys already put on a great show. I think what's exciting about sports is you never know what the outcome is going to be. And hopefully, we can bring some Marvel fans that maybe aren't necessarily baseball fans, that they'll come out to the park. They'll, be able to revel in their Marvel fandom and learn a little bit about the Erie Seawolves, learn a little bit about baseball, and become maybe new baseball fans. And hopefully the baseball fans that are already coming to the game will learn a little bit about Marvel and our library of characters, and maybe create some new Marvel fans. So I think that's what's fun about these types of these nights, is that we have that crossover. And I think over the years, we've seen more and more crossover as, the big Marvel Studios films have come out. A lot of the athletes are, frankly, in their early 20s, and most of them have grown up with, the films. Marvel Studios Iron Man came out in 2008. And so, most of the professional athletes now hardly know a world where we weren't cranking out movies and television shows, and we've been creating comics, since 1939. So, there's a lot of Marvel content out in the world, and I love that these athletes are now becoming parents themselves and wanting to share that with their kids. So hopefully the families that come and visit the park are going to have a great time, and hear the Marvel music, and see the activities that we have planned, and snap some cool photos, and enjoy a great game. So, really, this is the entertainment business, and we hope they have a good time.
Plus, if they're not able to make it out to the game, they can listen to me on the radio, and I'll be geeking out about Marvel all night.
Now we're talking. We'll send you some comics.
Yeah. Oh, I would love that. My broadcast partner, Greg, is not a big Marvel guy. That's why you're talking to me right now. But I love this stuff. I was reading comics last night to kind of cool off after our game yesterday, and I'm really excited about this.
Well, so you got to get your partner now excited about Marvel. Preach the good word. Share some comics. Get them fired up.
I'll do my best. I'll put some in front of them and say, "Hey, it's a cool medium. It's art. It's really cool." So I'm really excited to be able to kind of nerd out on air when we host our first Marvel night. I'm wondering if and I've heard a rumor that you have, if you've been able to make it out to one so far this year.
Have I been to any of the games?
Yeah.
I was just recently in Salt Lake at the Salt Lake Bees game. Just kind of I happened to be in town up there for a wedding, and they invited me out to the game, so that was a lot of fun to be out there. But I haven't been able to be at too many of them. I've been to some of our Marvel superhero nights around the country. I wish I could go to them all. Unfortunately, I'd just be traveling constantly. And I've got other projects to work on, other shows to put on, but I really wish I could be there, and I hope your fans have a great time.
What was it like at Salt Lake, seeing the kind of the activation of a Marvel night at the minor league stadium?
Kind of surreal, to be honest. I mean, seeing this logo that I had, created in my home office, and put together and worked on late at night, and then to see all the players run out on the field wearing that logo on their hats, on their jerseys, and hearing the fans get excited about it, seeing fans walking around wearing those hats and shirts and stuff. That's really cool. It's not often that any of us at Marvel, because everything is teamwork. There's a lot of teams that work on these projects. So it's not very often that you can point to an exact thing and said, my hand created that. And so that was very gratifying personally, to be able to see that come to life. So as long as the fans are having fun and the players dig them, I'm happy to be a part of it.
All right, Brian, that's all I've got for you. He's Brian Crosby over with Marvel. I'm Sam Lebowitz. And Seawolves fans, you can join us here at UPMC Park on August 25th as the Seawolves take on the Bowie Bay Sox, and you can watch the Seawolves play in their Defenders of the Diamond jerseys. We hope to see you there. Brian, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.